As everybody continues to enjoy, I guess, the last official weekend of summer, it is an absolutely beautiful day here in New York City, and I'm back at one of the newest additions to New York, the Hudson Yards. I had hoped to do a report from the top of this vessel, but it turns out if you want to get up into that thing, it's a bigger pain in the ass than it appears to be. You got to get here early. Tickets are free, but even arriving prior to its official opening, which is supposed to be 10 a.m., there is a long wait. So rather than wait, see if I can get out of the wind here. Rather than wait, we'll just walk around and talk about what I wanted to talk about. Don't forget, coming up at 3 o'clock today, we've got Sunday with Charles. That's going to be on YouTube and Periscope and Facebook and DLive. It'll appear on BitChute directly after live. It's going to be on, of course, Patreon and Subscribestar. Got to give a big shout out and a huge thanks to the sponsors on Patreon and Subscribestar. Today is September 1st, so it's a great day to get on there. If you're not yet a sponsor of Crowdsource the Truth, please become one. You're going to get access to loads of great exclusive content available only to sponsors on Patreon and Subscribestar. On Mondays, we've got Ole Damagard, Light on Conspiracies with Ole Damagard. Monday nights, we've got Unseen Libya with Jimmy and Joanne Moriarty. Whoops, whoa, see how that thing goes crazy? Come on back. Tuesdays, we've got More Pain with Mike Moore of True Pundit. Wednesdays, I've been trying to take off, do work on the various lawsuits and other things that are pending, research, phone calls, etc. Thursday, we've now got Dr. Corsi's Prescription for America and the Intelligence Assessment with Kevin Shipp. And of course, on Fridays, you're going to get Discovery CSI with David Hawkins. Each of these regular guests are fantastic in my estimation, and they deserve your sponsorship on their own Patreon pages. Are people aware here in Hudson Yards we also have this Bloomberg building? I don't know what the story is with this building. It appears to be built on casters. I can't imagine it would actually roll on those, but interesting design element. One of the reasons I want to come over here today and do a video at this unusual time before Sunday with Charles is to talk about this ongoing Epstein story and the fact that there appears to be no legitimate investigation. Whitney Webb has been appearing on a lot of different YouTube channels, and of course she's doing her expose on mintpress.com. She's been doing excellent work tying Epstein and some of the various co-conspirators back to Iran-Contra. Certainly William Barr, everybody is concerned, will the Attorney General properly investigate this? He said he was appalled when he learned that Epstein died, but yet his Department of Justice did not send any investigators over to any of his properties when he was arrested. They waited until after he was dead to raid the property at Little St. James Island, which YouTube videos from Rusty Shackelford indicate as recently as yesterday or 2 days ago, there are still workers there. So what are they doing there? Why is that island not clamped down? Why did they wait more than a month after Epstein was arrested? There still has been no raid, as far as we know, on the New Mexico property. New Mexico governor, former New Mexico governor Bill Richardson. Whitney Webb points out lots of weird connections to the Clinton administration. We need to look into this stuff more. The other thing I wanted to talk about was I've been getting a lot of attention for these videos that I've been doing about Ghislaine, Ms. Maxwell, whatever her name is. Apologize to our French viewers for my brutal pronunciation. I'm trying. But I published a series of videos about these photos of Ms. Maxwell appearing at that In-N-Out Burger in Universal City. I was initially fascinated by that story because I lived right over there several years ago, literally up the street. I've been to that In-N-Out Burger. But as time has gone on, there's a lot of people who have told us, hey, this is a distraction, don't pay attention to it. It may well be a distraction, but I'm not sure that we shouldn't pay attention to it, because the question becomes, what is it a distraction from, and who exactly is trying to distract us from it? I think people who are regular viewers of Crowdsource the Truth have come to know that I'm very interested in this concept of social engineering. Something I only learned about after starting Crowdsource the Truth, but it's a technique that's been applied to me and that social engineers are attempting to apply to viewers of Crowdsource the Truth to convince them that lies are true and that the truth might in fact be a lie. So I bring it up because I've noticed these correlations between the social engineers that want to destroy Crowdsource the Truth and the tactics used by social engineers who perhaps planted a story in the New York Post. Maybe people saw that I actually called the New York Post and spoke to some of the journalists that were involved in that reporting. They didn't really want to talk about it. I do want to clear up one thing. This guy, Larry Solona, people have been accusing him of flying on the Lolita Express. I don't believe that he did. It looks like the name on the manifest is Selena with either a sloppily written letter or a mistake. But this ties to Selena Dubin family, apparently friends with the Epsteins. So, see, the interesting thing about that is it kind of shows you how perhaps an error like that could be made. Maybe Solona never went on the plane, but by putting that error in there, it raises a little suspicion. It creates an opportunity for perhaps a social engineering campaign that might be very damaging to Mr. Solona, irrespective of what the facts are. Let's say he never went on the plane. You make that little handwritten spelling error, you've got plausible deniability. Oh, it was supposed to be this other person, or you could present it to the public in such a way that smears Mr. Solona. Now, this doesn't let him off the hook for publishing what seems to be an obviously fake story. It's been known by people on the internet for weeks that there's loads of questions about that story, and there's been no follow-up from the New York Post. So, again, I just want to encourage people to avoid jumping to conclusions, to avoid this kind of guilt by association. These are detailed matters, and so, not paying attention to them is not advice that I agree with. So, since publishing those videos, I've been contacted by lots of people, various means around the internet, Twitter, etc., through the YouTube videos, comments, etc. And so it was brought to my attention that the metadata associated with one of these Ghislaine Maxwell photos revealed that it was taken by her attorney. It's attributed to Meadowgate Media. Now, this is interesting. It's interesting. But how do we know that this metadata hasn't been manipulated, and where did it come from? As a matter of fact, I think there's good reason to believe the metadata may have been manipulated because, look at this. It's saying that the source is 2 Merlin. Now, what does that mean? We could also observe that the resolution is 2000 by 1333. That's an unusual resolution. I don't believe that's a native resolution for any digital camera, certainly not for this Canon SX530. And also we see that there's this smearing of the Maselli's family-owned restaurant sign. So obviously somebody has been onto this image with some photo editing tool prior to its delivery to the New York Post or wherever it is that this metadata was extracted. The files that can be downloaded from the New York Post do not have metadata associated with them. The metadata is put there normally by the camera itself at the time that the picture is taken. So, this introduces a lot of variables. Did someone want to pin this on Meadowgate Media? Was Ghislaine Maxwell actually at that restaurant, or was she photoshopped in? I did that demo where I showed that we could stick the face of a lot of different people potentially on somebody sitting there. So, the question becomes, was she there or was she not? And if she was not, who was motivated to make us think that she was there? Now, I did call the phone number that I believe is the cell phone for Leah Safian, the lawyer, the owner of Meadowgate Media. I called it 2 days ago, and I didn't record this, unfortunately, but the ringtone indicated that if it is a mobile phone, it was outside of the United States. People who make phone calls within the United States will detect the sound of the ringtone, and it sounds different when the phone's in Europe or the Middle East or Asia. It gives that different European ringtone. So when I called 2 days ago, that cell phone rang as if it were overseas. Called again yesterday and there was no ring whatsoever. Just picked right up, no voicemail, nobody talking on the other end. So I don't know, I just want to ask Leah Safian if she in fact took those pictures or if someone is trying to set her up to make us all think she took those pictures. Because remember, deception is the number one thing that these guys rely on. There are other aspects of the metadata that cause me to believe that it may have been manipulated, but I mean, certainly that's just text. How do we know how it got there? You can edit and save metadata. We even see it's got written on there, the name of it. I mean, that couldn't have been easily entered before the photo was taken. You'd have to program that in on the camera. I suppose it could have been done, but the point is, there's a lot about this metadata that we don't know. We shouldn't make definitive conclusions, but we should continue asking questions. I think what we've got right now is a situation where we really want to know from an impartial third party that has no real motivation to support anything other than the truth. I'd really like to know if In-N-Out Burger has surveillance footage that they could share with us, which would indicate if Ghislaine Maxwell was there or not. It should be easy enough to access now. People might recall I called In-N-Out Burger. I wanted to speak to somebody in their legal department to find out if they are interfacing with the FBI. I mean, perhaps they'd say, oh, well, you know, we can't share the evidence because we've given it to the FBI. That's a common thing that people always say, but why not? It's their property. They could do whatever they want with it. Sharing it with the public wouldn't prevent the FBI from investigating it, and it seemed possible, based on everything we know about this case and how little investigation has been done, how improper everything about it procedurally appears to be so far. It's not surprising, but it is troubling if in fact the FBI has not been in touch with In-N-Out Burger. In fact, as a privately owned company with privately owned surveillance footage, I mean, certainly if you got a glimpse on a surveillance camera that you owned of the whereabouts of a accused child rapist, accused pedophile, I think it would be more important to uphold your duty to the community, to help the authorities identify, to the best of their ability and the best of your evidence's ability, to identify the location of that person, not to preserve her privacy to eat hamburgers. I understand we don't want to reveal that Brad Pitt was at the restaurant, but that's different. This person is an accused criminal who's wanted in more than 20 civil suits in the Southern District of New York and appears to be a fugitive from the law. There's reason to believe that story contained falsehoods. So I think we really need In-N-Out Burger to step up to the plate and come forward here. I mean, they're under no obligation, of course, but what is it that they're going to choose to do? Protect the privacy of an accused pedophile, pimp, child rapist, human trafficker? Or help the authorities uphold their duty to the community to show fugitives from the law that you don't have safe harbor at In-N-Out Burger. If In-N-Out Burger security footage captures anything, maybe In-N-Out Burger could tell us if that poster was there. I don't think this is something to be ignored. I think this is a rich trove of clues. Who would do this and why? It was very overt. It may involve the New York Post. I think it's time to keep asking questions, not to stop asking questions. So questions remain. Anyway, I'm going to keep doing videos about this until we learn more. And I think it's very interesting to see how the tactics of social engineers correspond. We've got lawyers involved now in the social engineering campaign. Have people noticed how lawsuits are being used against Crowdsource the Truth to try to stop me and to try to stop Crowdsource the Truth from bringing you the types of guests that we bring you, either here on YouTube, Periscope, and the other free platforms, or on patreon.com, subscribestar.com/crowdsourcethetruth. They're trying to shut those platforms down to prevent me from talking to you, to prevent me from asking these questions, doing these investigations. So it's important that people become sponsors and send a message to these social engineers that you can't do that. You can't suppress this information. Citizen journalists like me and others who are working on this need the support of viewers like you, because advertisers aren't going to support this. Advertisers are supporting news outlets like the New York Post. And we see how those things can fail us. So don't forget to tune in at 3 o'clock. We're going to have Sunday with Charles. It's going to be a great show today. We're going to be talking more about some of this. Arkansas Clinton and the Temple of Doom. Don't miss that at 3 p.m. See everybody there. Thanks for watching.